Basic cooler, freezer, evaporator wiring. General safety information. Installation, maintenance, and servicing are to be performed only by trained and qualified personnel familiar with commercial walk-in products. Ensure that all field wiring conforms to the equipment requirements and all applicable local and national codes. Disconnect all power sources before servicing the unit. Sheet metal and coil surfaces have sharp edges. Use appropriate protective gloves to prevent injury. Use appropriate eye protection during installation and servicing. This is a tutorial on how to properly wire Kolpak standard air and electric defrost evaporator coils. First is the air defrost evaporator found in walk-in cooler applications. Start by identifying proper voltage required for the evaporator coil. This information is listed on the data tag located on the back of the evaporator coil. Remove left end panel to expose the evaporator terminal board. Reference the wiring diagram located on the inside of the end panel for field wiring. Remove knockout tab on back of evaporator panel. Use caution as long sharp objects can puncture the copper tubes if inserted too far into the end panel. Install electrical conduit into knockout. Route wiring through provided bushings. Air defrost evaporator coils require 2-line voltage wires and a ground. Terminate wiring per the diagram using terminals M1, M2, and ground. Reinstall the end panel. Now, field wiring for an electric defrost evaporator coil. These are used in walk-in freezer applications or walk-in coolers holding temperatures below freezing requiring electric defrost. Identify proper voltage required for the evaporator coil. This information is listed on the data tag located on the back of the evaporator coil. Remove left end panel to expose the evaporator terminal board. Reference the wiring diagram located on the inside of the end panel for field wiring. Install electrical conduit through the knockout provided on the panel. Route the wires through provided wire looms, making sure that they do not come into contact with the defrost heaters. Electric defrost evaporator coils receive power from a defrost time clock. A 5-wire harness is required from the evaporator coil to the defrost timer. 4-line voltage wires and a ground. Wire gauge size should be determined by referencing the amp draw labeled on the data tag located on the back of the evaporator coil. Land black on terminal N, land yellow on terminal 3, land brown on terminal X, land red on terminal 4, land green on ground lug. Reinstall end panel. The defrost timer for the evaporator coil is shipped loose but strapped to the receiver tank inside the condensing unit. The timer mounted location is at the installer's discretion. Kolpak does not recommend mounting inside the walk-in compartment. The timer needs to be mounted in a manner that is easily accessible for service and maintenance. Some models have the timer factory mounted inside the condensing unit electrical box. Remove protective cover inside defrost timer. Remove timer from housing, exposing screw holes for mounting. Once timer housing is mounted, reinstall the timer into the housing. Remove 2 knockout plugs. One is for incoming power and the other is for the 5-wire harness from the evaporator coil. Reference electrical diagram. Install electrical conduit for incoming line voltage. The defrost timer is 208-230 single phase. Terminate incoming power connections on terminal 1, N, and ground. Install electrical conduit from the evaporator coil. Terminate yellow wire on terminal 3, red wire on terminal 4, black wire on terminal N, and brown wire on terminal X. After startup, set timer to the appropriate time of day using the arrow and the dial. Each pin represents 15 minutes. The standard is to set defrost timers for 4 defrost cycles in a 24-hour period for a 45-minute duration. Defrost cycle requirements can vary by location. This should be adjusted after startup and evaluating the location's defrost needs.